Hello, welcome to Curious DIY. My name is Aiden and today I'm going to be showing you the electronic alarm kit. This is what it's going to look like and this is how it's going to work. Using your magnet you can trigger it like so, and then with a simple press of the button it will be able to turn off again. So get your project kit ready. It looks like this. Get excited and let's jump straight in. Come on. Alright, great. So let's open up our packaging to see what we are dealing with. Great. So as always, we've got our inserts, the packaging. Here is your task and the design criteria, as well as all the components inside your kit. And then here is a photograph of the project kit once you have finished the project according to this insert over here, all right, which is also included. This item over here is the same electronic alarm, except here I've neatened it up using some great components. So this is, I'm going to walk you through how to get yours going from this to this, looking very neat and all in its own place. So let's put that to the side for now. Inside your box you're also going to have two 10 centimeter by 20 centimeter pieces of cardboard, and you're going to have a little arrangement of pieces like this. They might seem arbitrary, but you are going to use them to neaten up everything. So you can pull these apart like so. If perhaps you feel like you need to take a craft knife, be very careful, but you just run it over these little notches where it's all connecting. But I'm just going to pull them apart. That is perfectly fine. Let me put that to the side. Okay, you're also going to have a curious sticker. Put this on your pencil case, put it on your skateboard, put it on your door, wherever you want to put it, but of course wherever you do, make sure you've got permission. Great. And then you're going to have a cotton thread. All right, this is 3 meters of cotton thread. You've got some curious gum. This is just 7 centimeters of curious gum. This is pretty much just industrial grade press stick. It's really awesome and it's really strong. And one thing awesome about this is that when it gets hot, it doesn't go soft, and when it gets cold, it doesn't go hard, unlike press stick. Really, really awesome stuff. Then we've got some wires. All right, these are some lead wires, but we've cut off the other end because you only need this much of the length. This will be all that you need. Then you've got a little bag of smaller components. I'm going to put this to the side so we can see what we're dealing with. Alright, so inside this we've got some wrapping wire. You've got a Perspex battery holder, and then of course the battery that goes with it. Okay, you've got a small little battery. We have a buzzer, a push button, a reed switch. Be very careful with this, don't bend the arms, an LED, and we have an item called a thyristor. This is called a thyristor. This little piece over here, thyristor. And those are all the small components that we have. And so at this point, what we will need to then do is you're going to go to this piece of paper to see what the circuit we are building is going to look like. So if you look at this basic circuit diagram, this is how everything is going to be wired together. So the cell battery, or the 3-volt cell, is powering the entire circuit. Then we have got a reset button. So this is the reset button over here, and this can close and open the circuit based on when we want it. The thyristor is going to add as a terminal that splits the circuit into 3, where the reed switch is going to act as a second switch. The reed switch is how we're going to trigger the alarm, whereas the reset button is how we are going to reset the alarm. Then the LED and the buzzer are in a parallel circuit, and so when there is circuit flowing through this, when there is current flowing through the circuit, the LED and the buzzer will both light up and make a noise simultaneously. Then the reset button can restart the whole circuit, and the reed switch will then be closed. And then using a magnet, when a reed switch is brought into a magnetic field, the circuit closes and the whole thing turns on. The reset button will then reset everything, and the reed switch will go back to an open state. Great. Great, so when starting your circuit to get to this point, here's what I have decided to do. So this is going to be my base plate. You can see it sits at the back, and this is going to be not used by any wiring, but then this is going to be how we will keep everything neat. So we're going to just choose a height of this where it leaves about 1.5 centimeters at the bottom, and then on the reverse we're just going to cut it over there. And that should be great. This piece you can put to the side. And now we have got a little a base plate as well as a circuit, as well as some housing for our circuitry. Here we go. So I'm going to use some curious gum just to fasten these two together. I'm just going to put one dollop over there and one dollop over here. It has a little tail. And then I'm just going to join them together like so. So all that's going to now happen is this piece of cardboard is going to be this piece of cardboard in our diagram. So we're going to feed everything through in the correct position. So for example, the buzzer, which we can peel this off, the buzzer is going to be on the far right in this position over there. Then the LED is going to sit over here. Oh, everything's stuck together. The LED will sit a little bit to the left of that, like so. Then our thyristor, which is hiding right now, here he is. The thyristor is then going to sit over here with each of its prongs in its own flute. So you can see that these wavy areas, these little cavities are flutes. So I'm going to put one prong in the left, one prong in the center, and one prong in the right. I'm just going to push it down for now, just to show you where it goes. And then finally, the push button is going to be wired on the outside. But in this instance, we will be able to put it in the fluting like so. So you can see all four components are neatly spread out and in their correct position. And you're just going to follow the circuit to wire everything. But here's what we're going to do that's going to make this special. All of these lead wires, we're going to feed through the cardboard in the same way that it does in the diagram. So for example, I'm going to take black and the red one according to this picture. Black and red. I'm going to feed this on to the buzzer. Obviously red being positive, the longer terminal. I'm going to put it there. And then black being the smaller terminal. I'm going to then feed them through, but before I do that, just to make things easier for ourselves, I'm just going to pull this the insulation off to expose the wires on both sides. There we go, and just give it a little bit of a twist to neaten it up. Like so. There we go. So this component is ready to go. If you feel the need, I do recommend maybe doing this as well. Just add a little bit of curious gum to everything, just to make sure that it holds in place and doesn't come loose. So not getting in the way of the circuit. There we go. A little bit of curious gum there. Oopsie. And I'll just take a small piece over here as well. There we go. Now this will double up as the way that it's going to sit in the cardboard. So I'm going to feed these through 1 and 2 holes. Again, these must be in separate holes. It'll just be easier for you later on. And feed it through and get those little plastic housing units also to sit nicely. There we go. Cool, that is the buzzer in place. The LED I'm going to move over slightly, and I'm just going to move the thyristor over, and the push button over by 1. Oopsie. So now it is definitely even more spread out. Great. So now we can move on to the LED. The LED is going to use the purple and yellow pieces according to the picture. So we're just going to take one purple and the yellow one. And that's how that's going to sit. So just for the sake of getting it to sit nicely in the housing, I'm going to do the same thing with the curious gum. I'm going to put some curious gum in on the LED over here, just so that it sits really nicely. Now one thing you'll notice is that the LED has got very long legs. So we want to just take a look at which side is which. According to the diagram, purple is going to be the positive terminal, which is the longer leg on the LED. So we want to just get the longer leg to sit there. And one thing you'll notice is that it's not going to go all the way through. It's going to stop at a point. So what you're going to do is just put your nail there, pull it out to see how long that length is. It isn't long at all. So I'm going to measure it. It looks to be about 8 mils, and I'm then going to cut the positive terminal only to be 8 mils from the LED housing. Just the positive terminal. There we go. Just the positive terminal, and I'm now going to fix it in place. Just like that. We're going to do the same thing with the negative terminal. The reason we did them one at a time is just to not get confused between the two. So I'm going to cut the negative terminal now, and I'm going to place the yellow lead wire on top. There we go, or over the prong. There we go. I'm just going to add a little bit more curious gum just to make sure it's all sticking together quite nicely. Great. And then according to the picture, purple is on the left and yellow is on the right. But again, before we do anything, let's just take the coating off for about the last 1.5 centimeters. Just like that. Okay, so purple on the right, yellow on the left. There we go. Voila. Perfect. Okay, and then just get those plastic housings to also sit nicely in, and that should be good enough. Don't push it down too much, you will crumple the fluting. There we go. So let's move on to the thyristor. Thyristor is taking a white cable, the orange cable, and it looks as though it's also using the brown one. There we go, the brown one. Alright, great. So what we're going to do is just plug the thyristor in randomly, or not randomly, but in the order of brown, orange, and white. So brown on the far left, then orange in the middle, and white on the right. Great. And before putting this in the fluting, I'm actually going to just bend it slightly just to give us a little bit more room to work with. So I'm spreading these out, but also keeping those plastic housings parallel. There we go. Okay, and then as always, we want to just take the end cables off, or the end insulation. What may be easier for this is just to grab a knife and you can just gently cut, don't cut through, and pull. This one's being a bit stubborn. There we go. We got it. There we go. Great. And then just to make sure that the housing sits nicely on the curious gum, I'm actually this time going to put the threading through, and then I'm going to put the curious gum underneath the plastic housing. I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so white on the right, brown on the left, orange in the middle. I don't think I need to turn this one up. Okay, so I'm going to put orange in the middle, white on the right. Okay, I think these need to neaten up a little bit more. Okay, that seems to be okay. You can even go one at a time, there's no need to worry too much about this. Oh, there we have it. So these housings I'm going to keep exposed. So to do this, I'm going to take some curious gum, quite a generous amount, maybe about a ball that size. And I'm just going to roll it into a sausage. I'm going to pull these out just a little bit and put the curious gum just underneath the housing. And then I'm going to push this down into place so that it bites quite nicely. There we go. Beautiful. Great, so now our last step is the push button. So for the push button, we're actually going to use wrapping wire. Now your wrapping wire, according to the picture, is blue, but your wrapping wire might be yellow like mine, or it might be orange, it might be gray. There's a bunch of different colors that it could be, so don't stress, that's how it's supposed to be. Okay, so for this step, I recommend cutting your wrapping wire into 15 centimeter lengths. So just 15 centimeters, give it a cut, and do this about, whoopsie. You want to have about, let's actually count. We know that we're going to have 1, 2, 3, and 4 of these wrapping wires. So we must be sure that we have got 4 of them. So we're just going to do that 4 times. Great. Let's bring this diagram back. So for the wrapping wire, we want to attach the wrapping wire to our push button. So we're just going to go about 1.5 centimeters into the wrapping wire, applying a little bit of pressure just to get the wire exposed because it's got insulation on it, which we want to get rid of. Again, on the other side as well. There we go. This one will be a bit easier than the lead wires. And you just want to put it on the side of your push button and then wrap it around one of the terminals. Which one doesn't really matter right now. And we'll do the same thing with another one on the other side. This one I've made a little bit too long. I'm going to just clip a little bit of it off. I'm happy with that. And put it on the side of the button and wrap it around. Great, and we are then going to feed it through the left-hand side of our little cardboard wire housing in two different flutes. So I'm going to go with one over here and one, let's hold that one down. Go in, mister. And one on the other side in a different flute. Okay, they're both at the bottom, so I'm going to pull them through. And then once it gets to this point, you want to just manually push it in all the way. Now again, just to fasten everything in place, I'm going to put some curious gum on the underside and just give it a bit of a squeeze. Voila. That's great. Stunning. So now we want to wire our thyristor, and for that we can get either this piece or this piece. It's really up to you. It won't make much of a difference in this instance, but let's just use this one for now. We're going to cut it to half the length of our housing. So you will pretty much be cutting this in half. This part is not strict to be this. You could just use this one as is and put it there. That's totally fine. You can see that's what I did in the example. But for this one, I'm going to use this piece. And for this, I'm actually going to put some curious gum and glue and fasten it down, just so that we can work all on the board. As a matter of fact, because of the diagram, I'm going to keep this one loose, and then I'm going to show you how to neaten it up. You can see all I really did was took this piece of cardboard, folded it up to be here. And that's essentially what we're going to do. We're going to wire everything down here and fold it up to be all together in the electronic alarm. Nice and neat. Great, so let's take our little thyristor, and very carefully, about 1/2 centimeter away from the housing, we're going to bend it to 90 degrees. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side in the same direction. So we end up with a bit of a staple shape looking thing. If you want to grab just something hard around you, just to get it to a nice 90 degrees, feel free to do that. You can use a ruler for this, you could do anything. You could even just leave it as is with slightly curved corners. That's totally fine. So now, on this little piece of cardboard, we're going to select two flutes that we know it's going to fit into quite comfortably. So for me, that is these two flutes, the one over there and the one over there. Alright, so it sits quite nicely in that place. Then according to the picture, we're using the grey and the green wrapping wire for this process. So we're just going to, again, with our nail, just give it a bit of force. Don't break the wire all the way off. Just take the housing off. Give it a neaten up, and the green one. And twist it up. Great, so now we want to attach these to the thyristor. So the way that we're going to do that is just by putting the arms in. Let's see which side it is. This can go either way, by the way, so we can actually just do it randomly for now. Just pushing them into the housing until you feel a bit of a click. Again, it should only go about 8 millimeters in, so I know that it's going to end about there. There we go. That's quite fine. Great. So then I'm going to grab this little piece again and I'm going to feed it through those two holes as well as I discovered earlier. One was there and the other was here. And I'm just going to feed it in so that the housing is now sitting comfortably in the cardboard fluting. Beautiful. You can leave a little bit on the top, that's totally fine. And that should be plenty. Now, just to fasten the wires and prevent them from sliding a little bit, I'm going to add 2 pieces of curious gum to the bottom. So that is going to be on this side. So I'm just going to roll it into a bit of a little sausage and just shove it in there. Packing it in around the wire. So now the wire is being hugged by the curious gum so it can't slide. Great. So that is our little thyristor setup. Well, let's do the wiring of the battery. So you can take the plastic off your little acrylic housing. You're then going to grab your last 2 pieces of wrapping wire and we're going to measure 3 centimeters. 3 centimeters on one side and pull it off, and 2 centimeters on the other side and pull it off. Be sure to know which side is which. Great, so my 3 centimeter sides are these ones. No, these ones. 3 centimeters, 3 centimeters, and 2 centimeters. There we go. So the 3 centimeter sides, we're going to do this. We're going to wrap one from the bottom through the middle hole on the middle prong and back from the top through the same prong. So different hole but the same prong. Then underneath you want to just get these wires to be roughly equal, hold them together and twist. That should be nicely held in place. There we go. Now we're going to do the same thing, except now instead of coming from this side, we're going to come from this side on those 2 little holes. So we're going to grab the 3 centimeters length, feed it from this side, and back through. Get them equal and twist. Great. So that is going to be our battery holder, and it's got a positive and a negative terminal. Positive I always keep in the middle prong, negative on the outsides. Great. So with our battery, we know that on the battery there are symbols on it, positive, and the negative side has got nothing on. So positive is going to be making contact with the middle prong. So it's as simple as, in this case, we want to actually come from this side. Right, we want to come from this side with the negative 2 sides. These 2 prongs, you want to push them up slightly and push the bottom one down. If it's easier to come from this side, you're just going to lift up the prong and slide it in place. Just like that. And there is a wired battery with the positive and negative terminal making contact with the wires. So let's actually undo this just for the sake of not damaging anything in our circuit when we So we've got this main housing, don't get confused with that. We've got this little guy, which is our thyristor setup, and we've got our battery setup. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to do all of these joints, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you can see here, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Great, so what you want to do is just get all 4 of your insulation ends together and then just twist all of the wires together so that they are making contact. Now we're going to move on to the second join, which is just orange and green. Now we're going to go on to the third joint, which will be the grey button for the grey wire for the thyristor, the purple for the push button, the red for the buzzer, and the other terminal of our push button. Okay, and then for the final wire, we're going to have the other terminal of the battery, the yellow and the black are going to join together. Great, and so now at this point we can do some testing because we are pretty much finished with wiring everything. So I'm just going to get my battery and my magnet ready. I'm going to plug my battery in. And we're going to test the reed switch. There we go. Okay, so the reset button will reset the circuit, then we'll trigger the alarm and reset it. Sometimes you have to press the reset button a couple times, but don't stress, it is still all working. So let's do that one more time. Oh, great. So now we can begin the process of neatening this up. So I'm going to take this piece first and put some curious gum on the bottom of it. This doesn't have to be neat because you won't be seeing it. And I'll put this in place. Just while we're working, I'm going to unplug the battery, just to prevent any of those false alarms. Okay, so I'm going to put this over there. You can put it anywhere, it can be higher, lower, it's really up to you. Then with the battery holder, I'm just going to put a little bit of curious gum on the underside of it, on one side, this side. So this is the base of that middle positive prong. And I'm just going to then place it over here. And push it down into place. Great. Then the last step is to just make 4 balls of little curious gum, quite generous amounts, and then spread them out over this area. So I'm going to put one there. I'll put one there. One on the end. And then just to neaten everything up, I'm going to place each of these joins on the closest or the nearest area. So this one over here, I'm going to put on this one. So I'm going to bring down over here. Green and orange one. Seems as though I actually don't have space, so that's okay, we'll adapt. I'm going to take this curious gum, put it down there. There we go. And this final one, I'm going to just press to where the old one used to be. That seems to be where it wants to go. There we go. And I'm just covering everything in the curious gum, tucking it in nicely. Great. And then all of these loose wires, we can also push those down with some curious gum. So it seems as though they all kind of want to go to this point. So I'm going to just place some curious gum on my housing. And I'm just going to press them all in like that. And I'll just top it off on the top with some more. And this little bottom one that we had to move, I'm going to put some curious gum on him as well. And there you have it. This is a neatened up little electronic alarm. The last thing we'd need to do is put the battery back in. So we want to keep the positive terminal here. Now this process you must be very careful with. You might need to just take something like a pencil or something to that effect and just gently lift. Great, so you can see it's obviously lifting over here. That's not a problem. Let's take this piece, get some curious gum on the underside. Put some curious gum on the top as well. And I'll just slide it into place over here. So that is our electronic alarm. Let's do one last test. Hey, there we go. I'll just press reset. There we go. And we can set it off again. This is absolutely awesome. You should be able to set it off from the back as well. Just like that. So what you now can do is you can find a place to put this little device. Alright, let's just neaten up these last wires. You can find a place to put this little device if you want to put it maybe up against a wall and then on a door, and then whenever this unit which is on the door moves, it means the door's opening, and so it will then let you know. So maybe this can be a little safety alarm. But this is again a proof of concept, so of course from here you can neaten it up as much as you want. Be sure that these cables aren't touching. If you find yourself not having a working circuit, this is probably going to be the problem. You just want to take the prongs out, rotate it 180 degrees, put it back in. And from there it should work. If it, obviously mine won't, because it worked the other way. It definitely worked the other way, so I'm going to just put it back how it was, but this is what you may need to do should yours not work. Alright, Mr. Alarm, we hear you, we hear you. So there we go, there you have it. Your electronic alarm is now done and ready, and you can see it looks pretty similar to this one. All of your alarms should look different. Any two that look the same, that is just a very, very low chance of that happening, but they will look different, and that's totally fine. So hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, stay curious.
Thanks for watching and stay curious.